Honor for Heroes was founded May the 15th, 2021. And I founded Honor for Heroes with two of my children, Michael and Anna. And how it kind of came about, I'm former military, served in Iraq 2003 to 2004. And when I came back from Iraq, like a lot of people, I did a lot of reflecting and kind of looked into my own family history a little more. And that's when I started learning a story that I'd heard when I was young about my great uncle James. James Hilley was part of the 10th Mountain Division. And in the last days of World War II, April the 30th, 1945, a duck was crossing Lake Garda in Italy, and it was loaded down. It had 26 men on board, the equipment, a howitzer barrel, and that duck went down that night, and there was only one survivor. So 25 men went down with the duck. And so when I came back from Iraq, I'd looked in some family history, and I got really interested in that part of my family history, and I kind of focused on that. And I did some research, and I was writing letters trying to find out why the wreckage hadn't been found, why the remains hadn't been discovered, that kind of thing. And in the process of doing that and meeting people around the United States and even overseas in Italy, I started doing some other things. I started, I worked with former Senator Odell to rename the Belton Highway Veterans Memorial Highway. And I was just doing little projects here and there, helping out veterans, volunteering for veteran organizations, just doing what I felt like was my part or what was necessary for me to do for my own heart. And it was something that I was passionate about. So if you fast forward many years later, I've got children. All three of my children are going in the military or in the military. And we were sitting at the table one evening, and Michael's like, "Well, Dad, why don't we, do more of this? Why don't, you do all these projects, why don't we, kind of just make it a full-time job?" And I just kind of laughed. I was like, "Well, there's not a lot of money, doing nonprofits full-time, for unless you get really big." I said, "But it's not a bad idea." So we formalized everything and done some research, and that's how Honor for Heroes was born. And our logo, the Honor for Heroes logo, is surrounded with 26 stars, and the one star at the top is a little bit bigger, and that represents the 26 men on board the duck that went down in Lake Garda, and the one star at the top being bigger would represent the survivor. So even though that's part of my family history, that event that we've been working towards for so many years kind of is what pushed us into founding Honor for Heroes. Now, since the founding of Honor for Heroes in 2012, we did find the wreckage at the bottom of Lake Garda. It was discovered by an organization, Association BENOC, Ben Appleby and his wife. They run an organization in Italy, and I've worked with them for over 20 years now. So we found the wreckage, but we have not found proof of remains yet. And if we can find proof of remains, then the United States government will come in and recover everything and bring it up. But they won't get involved until those proof of remains are found. So that's kind of where we're at now. So Honor for Heroes has worked closely with BENOC Association over the years, and that just kind of developed into what we do here now. We basically, our mission statement here is to recognize, support, and memorialize all of our heroes, whether it be veterans, police, EMS, firefighters, and a lot of times community heroes, just people out there in the community that stand up and go above and beyond and do something to help others. We consider those people heroes because they're willing to put themselves out in order to make the world around them a better place. So that's what the organization Honor for Heroes is all about. It's just about helping and honoring the heroes that do so much for the rest of us, and to make sure that their stories are told and make sure that they're not forgotten.
I know I've seen you out at a number of local events. Are there some local projects you're working on now?
Yes, we just finished up a small tour here in the upstate. Ben Appleby and his wife Antonella Previty came over and spent some time with us, and they actually stayed with me and my family, and we had a couple of events together. We showed the Lost Mountaineers, which is a documentary that they created. We showed that here at the Anderson County Museum and also at the VFW in Piedmont. So we did a little tour and showed that, and Ben and I spoke at another event, a conference of the VFWs here in the upstate, and kind of promoting the story of the duck, and also promoting the next story that'll come out of Colonel Darby on April the 30th, 1945. In addition to the duck going down and the 25 men losing their life, also that day, Colonel Darby, the father of the U.S. Army Rangers, was also killed, and Hitler committed suicide, all on that same day. So the duck story kind of got lost, kind of in the shuffle, because too much bigger events happened that day that kind of overshadowed that. But we did just finish up that tour with them, and I think next we've got I'm emceeing the Jeep show at Celebrate Anderson, the Jeep Extravaganza. I'm going to be doing that in the name of Honor for Heroes. And we've got a lot of projects that we're working on, but we also volunteer a lot with the Special Olympics here, Rainbow Gang, and several other organizations around town.
How important was it for your organization, for the county, to give you this space?
Oh, it was very important and a very big blessing for us. Obviously, being a smaller organization and a newer organization, like I said, we're only 4 years old right now, and that's when the organization was born. We didn't actually become a 501c3 until 2023. So with us being as young as we are, and to be able to have an office space to hold small events and to invite people in, especially if we get a donation check or something like that, it helps a lot. Well, I would like to say, one, I'd like people to understand how diverse of a group we are. And what I mean is, our mission statement, when we were sitting down trying to come up with the mission statement, is to recognize, support, and memorialize our heroes. And that mission statement is very specific in some ways, but very broad in other ways. And it allowed us to do things like, we currently are in partnership with the Anderson Area 14 Special Olympics. In partnership with them, we own the Come Dream With Me prom, which is a prom that's put on for people of all ages with intellectual or physical disabilities free of charge. So we wanted to be able to do that to help that group of heroes. At the same time, we've got Mr. James Hughes over here, who his wife, and his daughter, within about a 4-year period, all three of them died. And there was nobody left to really take care of business after that. And so James and his wife are buried in Greenville right now, and he's a Vietnam veteran, a decorated Vietnam veteran, and he doesn't have a tombstone on his grave right now. So Honor for Heroes kind of took that project over, and we're working on getting his tombstone on his grave. Now, it's free because he's a veteran. His wife's, we have to raise money for her, but there's nobody to do it. There's nobody to take care of the paperwork. So that's one of the things that we do. And I joke around often about Honor for Heroes, because one of the hardest things for us to do in today's time, or the economy, or the situation in the world, whatever you want to blame it on, it's really hard for us to raise money right now. Most of our money comes from small donations and small fundraisers that we do. The more money we have, the more good we can do in the world. But I often joke and say that most of what we do is just facilitate things for other people. In other words, it's not costing us a dime to work towards getting Mr. Hughes here a tombstone on his grave. Now, we have to do some fundraising to get a tombstone on his wife's grave, but it's more about making phone calls, emails, shaking hands, going to a meeting, talking to people. And a lot of what we do and have done and are wanting to do is more about getting out there and telling the story, and then making things happen that doesn't necessarily cost money. I'd like to also point out that we're very fiscally responsible with this organization. Obviously, when you're a 501c3 and recognized through the state of South Carolina, you have to be above board. I mean, you have to report everything and turn everything into Columbia and the IRS. But we went into this knowing that we wanted to keep, if someone gives us money to accomplish a mission, we have to be very responsible with that money. So that's like everything in this office. Everything in this office that you see right now was either donated or paid for with my money. So we keep our operating budget, our yearly operating budget right now, just to exist and just to be legal, is around $1,200 a year, which I think is a very responsible. I wish it was cheaper. Almost half of that is just for the D&O insurance that we have to cover the board and the directors and stuff like that. So I just like
Not very much money though.
Well, no, but
It's $1,200.
$1,200 a year. That's what our operational budget is right now, and we're pretty proud of that. Now we could go and get flashier stuff, and like the television over here that we use for some PowerPoints and stuff like that. That's my son's old television. This very nice desk you see right here, even though it's a very expensive desk built right here in South Carolina by the Mennonites, this is a $2,500 desk. And it was donated free of charge. So we're very proud of the fact that we're able to get to where we are today, and we haven't spent a lot of money to do it. Because the money that we take in needs to go out there. It needs to go to help our veterans. It needs to go to help our first responders. It needs to go to help those people and those programs that need it more than we do. Again, we're just here to facilitate and to make things happen. We're not here to hoard money. We're definitely not here to waste money. But we could use more money, if that makes sense.
So you have to work another job to keep.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm a full-time manager at KM Fabrics in Greenville, and that's what pays the bills. But in addition to that, I do run the organization here, and I also do a lot of volunteer work, which. Now everything happens under the name of Honor for Heroes, but it was stuff that I was doing even before Honor for Heroes existed. And I don't have a good enough memory to remember everybody, but I would especially like to thank, all of our board members and ambassadors for Honor for Heroes, because, again, I'm just a person pushing the ideas, and I do a lot of work from the top, but they're the ones that make the decisions and decide what direction we're going to go in. So I would first and foremost like to thank them. Then I would like to thank all of our heroes. And when I say heroes, it's a broad spectrum. It's the military, veterans, firefighters, police, EMS, our Special Olympic athletes, our volunteers who volunteer for Special Olympics and stuff like that. I'd like to thank all of our heroes who take care of us every day and allow you and I to do the things that we do while protecting us and keeping us safe. I'd like to thank the County of Anderson, obviously, for the beautiful office that we're sitting in right now. And I'll kind of leave it there because I could go off and, go down the trail and really start to forget some names too. But yeah, I would just like to thank the County of Anderson for the office and everybody who's involved in this organization for all the hard work they put into it.
And if people see this, where can they find out more information about what you're doing, how maybe they can get involved?
Well, we have a website. It's www.honor4heroes.com, honorforheroes.com. They can go there. There's plenty of information there about our board and our ambassadors and our backstory and what we're doing. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So any of the social media sites, or they can go to our website. We do have a merchandise store on our website. We do sell T-shirts with our logos and different things on the back and stuff like that. So that's where they can find out all the information on us.
And how do y'all work with the veterans groups and other agencies that are doing some of these kind of things?
Well, it's kind of a case-by-case basis. And I want to be very clear. We don't ever see ourselves in competition with any other organization, because all these other organizations provide a very vital service for our heroes. And if there's ever any infighting over things like that, that is not the direction that we want to go. Vets helping vets. We've been at organizations with them, specifically the Jeep shows and stuff like that. I know Jesse Taylor. We've met. I've been to a couple of his meetings. Just met the Josh Stamey the other day with Fishing for Heroes. We're looking at maybe doing something together in the future. So we're going to work with other veteran organizations in any way that would benefit them or benefit our heroes. to deliver on the mission statement for their organization or for our organization.